Kickboxing tips. I have been involved in kickboxing since about 2000. I started my amateur career in 2006, and in 2009 I turned professional. I've won all the belts behind me, and today I'm going to hit you with 3 tips which will take your game up in skill level. All my knowledge, all that time competing, fighting, training, and if you're wanting to get better, this is the episode for you. So since you're here on the Gabriel Varga channel, I'm going to assume you really want to hear what I have to say, and this is a fantastic episode for you to show up for, because I'm going to be taking all that knowledge and basically pack it in to 5 to 7 minute episode where I go, here are 3 things which you can do which are going to help you improve so much in the next month. If you're not already doing these things, this is a gold mine of knowledge. Tip number 1 to improve at kickboxing is to actually make sure you get very good at putting together solid hand combos. Now, if I told you that you have a choice between getting really good at the hands and simply adding a kick at the end, or trying to get really good at everything and hope at some point it gets really high level, which would you choose? Hopefully you're going to go with the easier option, which is get some really good hand combos going, and then at the end, blast off a kick. This in itself is very good kickboxing. You do not have to worry about trying to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and have all this variety. In my opinion, yes, that's great, but it's difficult until you reach a high level. And if you're wanting to do better in sparring or competition, being very efficient at stepping in, getting the head off the center line, blasting a big combo, and then looking for what's open in terms of a kick level, and then blasting through, this is going to help you so much. And this is why we see many of the kickboxers out of Holland, or the Netherlands, when they blast those hand combos and they very simply finish with a low kick, because solid hands boxing is so effective. And then adding a kick at the end, or potentially at the beginning and then following with the hands, is something which is going to make you so darn dangerous. Tip number 2 is to utilize a mirror. I know that sounds like such an easy tip, but look, here's the thing. Many people can stand in place and think they're doing one thing and actually be doing something else. You just have so many things to focus on when you even throw one technique. Something simple like a jab. You're like, yeah, Gabriel, I know how to throw a jab, but I'm asking you, well, do you realize where your elbows are when you throw? Are they tight enough? Or are you flaring? What is your shoulder doing? Is one pulling and one pushing? Where's your head? Is it tucked in? Are you rotating your hand correctly? What are your hips doing? What are your feet doing? There are so many things to think about. So very often if we stand there and we just try and throw a technique, we might not realize that we're missing some element because we have not the ability to look at ourselves. But with that mirror, we can look over to the side and check ourselves out and make sure everything looks good. And a lot of people probably think that fighters are narcissists because they're always looking in a mirror, but there's a reason. They're not looking at themselves. They're not like, oh, I'm so good looking. They're checking their technique. They're making sure that when they're throwing, everything looks really crisp. And having a mirror in front of you is just amazing for improving that technique and making sure errors do not develop. And I would advise you do this at home as well. If you're standing in front of the vanity in your bathroom and you're thinking about doing some movement, just check yourself out there. Make sure everything's looking really good. If you have a big mirror that you can use, that is even better. If there's one at the gym, same thing, get in front of it, watch yourself and look at that technique, because you don't always have an instructor who can be eyes on you all the time. But if you're doing it yourself, chances are you'll be able to make many corrections and you won't develop bad habits. And before we move on to tip number 3, which is a really important one, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of this episode, Optimizers, and their Magnesium product. For only the remainder of August, you can pick up one of these for free. Only pay for shipping. You can head over to my link down below, magnesiumbreakthrough.com/Gabriel free, and you put in that promo code Gabriel10. That'll get you a free bottle, only pay for shipping. This is the supplement which I have been using to improve my body recovery and make sure my sleep is on point, fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, wake up less. All of that is what you want your magnesium doing for you. And moving on to our third and final tip, we are talking about learning to establish or recognize what your weaknesses are and what your strengths are. Now, it's not as simple as just going, okay, I'm good at this and I'm bad at this. Why do we do it? And how do we utilize that information? That is the important part. But if you don't do the initial part, which is figure out what they are, then you can't move forward. So let's say you figure out what your strengths are. You go, oh, I am so good at this. What you should start doing is developing a fight style around that. So for example, somebody like myself, I find that I'm really good on that left hook. It is a solid weapon of mine. How do I develop a style around that? Well, I step in offensively, I throw my hands, and very often finish with a left body hook. It's just something that I do time and time again. But my left hook is also very good, so I don't just want to use it offensively. I want to learn to block shots and break up their attack by throwing a counter left hook. And then from there, I can go, okay, my left hook's really good. What can I set up off it? When I throw that left hook, maybe I come with a high kick. Maybe when I throw the left body hook, I fake the low kick and I come to head level. And you start figuring out ways to develop that strength to become something which is very versatile and even stronger. And in terms of weaknesses, once we start establishing where we're going to get hit more often, what we're not good at, we can start drilling that extra and extra and extra so our strengths get better and better and better, more versatile, and our weaknesses start getting less and less. We get stronger in that field and everything starts pushing up and our skill level just jumps. If you have something in particular, let's say, oh, I get kicked in this arm all the time. Every time it comes, I have no answer, I can't block it, I get knocked over. You start making sure, okay, when I'm shadow boxing, I imagine, okay, I'm going left round kick, boom. And then you start adding the counter. And then you start getting people in pad work to throw it at you. And then you start catching that. Once you've started blocking it efficiently, then you can start catching it. And bit by bit, this has happened to me, legitimately, my weaknesses turn into my strengths. Things I used to be terrible at are now some of my strongest part of my game. And these 3 tips, if you can put them all together, they're definitely going to help you. Like I said, a vast amount of knowledge up here after years and years of training in this sport. And those 3 tips are things that I wish somebody would have told me years ago just to help me get better that much faster. So let's call it there, everybody. Thank you for joining today. As always, train hard. I will see you back here soon for another video.